library for all they do. Aren't they just awesome here? If we had lots of people here, I'd make y'all give her a thundering applause. But I love this library. I live quite a ways away, about 20-something miles away, and I drive over here every week to visit Decatur. Okay, today we've got several things we're going to try to discuss. Oh, first of all, social media is not only allowed, but it's encouraged today. I have 2 different social media sites did you get your name and all that? She gave you papers? Okay, good. Well, we're just now starting, hon, so you haven't missed much. But if y'all do post it on your social media, if you take pictures or whatever, she's going to send me a link and I'll post it on my social media. I have almost 5,000 friends on my main page, but on my herbal page, I think I only have like 400. So, but anyway, they're all going to be excited to get to see what's happening. I did a little live clip a while ago, and Alicia got to be on there. So I was already getting people saying, oh, I wish I could be there and all that. Okay. Oh, and my name, I'm sorry, will be on Instagram is the one I use the most. And my herb one is NSPLBS, I think stands for Nature Sunshine Products, Little Bit of Sunshine. So I think that's what if you want to tag me in that. All right, I want to tell a little bit of how come I got involved with herbs. This is kind of, to me it's interesting. I hope I don't bore you guys. But when I was probably in my early 20s, I went to church with a lady who found out that I had terrible constipation problems. I would go 2 weeks sometimes without one bathroom. And had basically been that way all my life. And my mom and my sisters, most of them, I come from a big family, seven of us, and we all had that problem. And she said, Nella, you need to try a little herb called Cascara Sagrada. And in Spanish, that means sacred bark. And I took one that night, and the next morning it was sacred bark to me. Oh my word, it changed my life. And I said, I was the office manager at a tool company, and I said, I have got to learn more about herbs. And so I started right after that tool company folded. They lost. Anyway, and so they didn't just downsize, they just stopped. So there I was without a job, and I was on unemployment for a while, so I had all this extra time. So I dove into the world of herbs with excitement, and it was like a brand new world to me. And I never liked school when I was going to school, but I liked learning about, hey girl, come on in. I loved learning about herbs. I loved learning about the body, how it worked, and how the immune system is so awesome. All of that just fascinated me. And so I began to attend every class that I could possibly get a hold of. I was certified, I think, 7 or 8 different times. This is where I'm talking 40-some years ago. And then I found a place that had homestead courses. So I not only got certified, I was become a master herbalist, and then I went on and got my doctorate from them. So that's how excited I was. This took several years, to get this all done, but the herbs changed my life. And I'll tell you, I'm kind of an odd person. I went to school in the 70s, so I think we were all odd back then. But anyway, my mom and dad believed in prayer. They believed in doctors too, but they always believed in praying first, and then if you had to, go to the doctor. Well, as a result, I never got any shots, no vaccines. I've never taken a medicine in my life. Well, I took a half of one time. My doctor put me on something for neuropathy. I didn't realize that there was medicine for that, but I had been unable to cure it with my herbs is because my diet was so bad at that time, and I'll tell you a little bit about that. But she gave me, and I didn't like the way that half of it, I split it in half because I knew with my blood being pure from any medicine, it would be too strong probably, and I didn't like what made me feel. So that I've taken a half of a pill of medicine my whole life. I didn't even go to a medical doctor till I was 59. So I've been very, very fortunate. The Lord has been very good to me. Now, I'm not saying that you know, this is not what you have to do. I'm just saying this is the odd person that I am. So I took care of my mom and messed up my shoulder, so I couldn't work much longer after she passed away. I retired, that's when I semi-retired, did all that. And I fell into a little bit of a depression because all of a sudden my identity of being a caretaker was gone. I had built my world around my mother, you know, and I felt like that was my duty, that was my honor to do that. But as she was gone, I'm thinking, now what? So as a result, I didn't eat right, didn't take my herbs right, and I fell, like I said, in kind of I didn't want to leave the house, kind of depression. Well, my sister, Judy, who's a little strong personality, she's come and got me. She said, you need to go to a medical doctor and find out, you know, what is going on. So I agreed to go, and they did some testing, did a pap smear, which was terribly painful. Anyway, but they come back that I had uterine cancer. And so I went to, the first time, I went to Mom's primary doctor, who she'd had with Medicare, and she was a beautiful person. She worked at Wise County, anyway, I don't remember the name of it. She's not there now, I wish she was, but she's working in an integrated doctor's office, I think in Keller or someplace. Anyway, she said, well, Nella, you've got cancer, we'll just do we'll do the surgery, and then we'll do the radiation and the chemo, and we'll just get through this. And I said, well, Dr. Dobbins, I was hoping to do this all naturally, if possible. And her face lit up. She said, oh, if you want to go that route, then she was all for it. Apparently, she'd either had a family member or herself or somebody who'd gone through it and been successful. So she really encouraged me. She said, that's your choice. It won't be easy, but if you want to do this naturally. So she told me to go home and study the nursing therapy. So I did. I went home, began watching all kinds of YouTubes, listening to testimonies by the hundreds, and I ran across a young man that I fell in love with. His name is Chris Warwick, and I listed him in my book. I don't know that I listed him on these papers, but he has a website called Chris Beat Cancer. And he was a Christian young man, so we had that connection. But he's a researcher. He doesn't sell anything. He doesn't, he has no agenda. He just researches. He cured him, or the Lord helped him cure himself of cancer. And so he began searching so he set up this website, does all of these interviews with scientists and doctors and people from all over. And I love the research because he has a scientific basis for what we all knew worked, but it's nice now that they have proven that. And so the medical field has opened up a lot more since Chris has been doing this for about 15 years, because he has, it's rooted in fact, not somebody's emotional trying to sell you something. So anyway, that's my story. My last female panel that I had done was all clear, and I still did it with prayer, food, herbs, and forgiving everybody of everything. You really have to work on your immune system, and your immune system is amazing. Our bodies were created beautifully and wonderfully, and if you feed it the right tools, it will take care of things. So y'all excuse me if I get really, really excited about my testimony and about what I've done about herbs. So as a result of that, I have a tendency to, and not push, but really encourage people, try herbs. And so if I get a little pushy with me, just say, now, Nella, I don't believe it that way. Okay, that's all right. All right, so number 3, what is an herb? And why did people stop using herbs and turn to medicine? An herb is a food that is a super supercharged, or it has so much dense nutrition in it that it is really effective. And like garlic is an herb and a food. So all of your herbs are food. So that's why they're so safe. But people don't take enough of them. They'll sit and eat a meal and they'll take 40 bites with that meal, and then they'll take one pill, one capsule of herb and say, it didn't work. Well, hello, you have to give your body a chance, first of all, because you're introducing something it's never had before. And so the body figures out, is this usable? Is this something I reject? Is it something I accept? And so, you have to go through 3, 4, 5 days sometimes without. Now, I was lucky or blessed that my one little cascara worked the next morning, but not everybody's that way. So don't get discouraged but in other words, what is an herb? That's what it is. It's a food that's supercharged. Okay, and the reason people stop using herbs when it's medicine is because you have to take a lot of herbs. A medicine, supposedly works instantly. And herbs get to the root of the problem. They don't mask a symptom. And so that's another, people want rid of that headache within 10 minutes. Most of the time an herb is not going to do that. An herb's going to go and find out why you're having that headache and say, okay, let's fix this. That way you won't have any more headaches. Whereas a lot of times a person will take a medicine to get rid of a headache. And I have too. And I've taken over-the-counter medicine for, like when we were fixing to go in the studio and record and come down with a sinus infection, and there wasn't no way I had 4 days to get rid of that with herbs, so, I did that. And so, y'all come on in. I'm just talking and talking and talking. That's all right. She's going to get you a set of papers, and they can come in here too if they want to.
Oh, it's okay. They'll be too loud.
Well, I may be a little too boring for little ones. But anyway, that's why a lot of people stop taking. Now, a lot of people have gone back to the herbs because they realize medicines are chemicals. And anytime you introduce a chemical into your body, your liver and your kidneys have to filter that. And some people's organs are already overworked. And so, anyway, they've kind of gone back to herbs. I don't know if you'll notice that. Okay, and welcome. We're glad to have more people come in. And the Hippocratic oath, is that how you say it? The Hippo oath, they call it, that a medical doctor graduates and he signs before he gives, I guess it's still the same, I haven't looked that up in the last 4 or 5 years. That doctor that started that oath was a herbalist who used 50 different herbs. That was his medicine. So I think that's kind of cute that it's grounded in all that. Okay. Why would a person want to take a capsulated herb versus a liquid? That's simply because they don't taste good. Not all herbs taste good, especially your bitter herbs that are the most effective. They're bitter. And so people just, they try drinking. Now chamomile's good. That's a good herb, good tasting herb. But your golden seal, buddy, that's a bitter herb. And so, have you tried the golden seal?
I haven't, no, I don't want to.
The golden seal is awesome for people with high blood sugar that's trying to get their sugar down. And it's great for any kind of like colds and flus and stuff like that. So it's got a lot of good stuff to it, but it's bitter. So the company that I've been with for 40-something years, Nature Sunshine Products, they're the first ones that encapsulated the herbs so that we could just take them and down they go, and you don't have to taste them. But when you do that, your taste buds, which would tell you after 6 months of taking that herb, I want to change. Like if you eat celery 3 times a day for 6 months, pretty soon your taste buds are going to say, give me some carrots. And so we kind of have to keep a watch on that, and every 6 months or whatever, rotate to another herb. so your body will get tired of it. So anyway, that's why I love encapsulated herbs. And also, if you have a digestive problem, we will switch you a lot of times, either put you on an enzyme to go with your herbs, because herbs, like I said, are super powered. They're high energy, and they may not, you may burp them up at times. And if you do, that's uncomfortable, so people stop taking them. So then we work with you on getting your digestion better, and maybe adding a digestive enzyme with your herbs, or move it to a liquid where if you're not digested at all, or you're like a child and you can't swallow the pills, then we've got the liquid herbs too that are valuable for that. Okay, how much of an herb can I take and it still be safe? Well, herbs are food, and herbs do not marry with medicine to make new little medicines, like medicine and medicine marry and make new little medicines. It doesn't happen with an herb, but because a medicine is always stronger than your herbs, we wait about an hour in between, at least 30 minutes. Hour is better in between taking your medicine and your herbs, because it's like turmeric. There's some medicines that turmeric will thin the blood, and you shouldn't do that. You shouldn't take the turmeric, with that medicine, or when you're fixing to have surgery or stuff like that. There's a few things that you need to be aware of, but, and your doctor, they all know that now. A lot of them have been, they know what herbs you can take. Used to, they'd say, oh, there's nothing to it. Well, now they've learned there's so much to it, they need to watch what medicines and herbs are. Anyway, okay, and will herbs interfere with my medication? It's possible it will. But the medicine, like I said, is always more powerful, and the little herb will lose the battle, so you don't want to waste your money on the herbs, because they're not cheap. So, take them separate. And if you have a question about either contact an herbalist, and if you can't find one, if you can't get a hold of me or somebody that's an herbalist, contact your, not the chemist, what's it called when he dispenses, the pharmacist. Your pharmacist will know more about that than your doctors usually. But anyway, you've got to try that avenue. And can I give herbs to children? Absolutely. If, there's a whole section with our company, we clearly mark our children's stuff so that they're for children. So if you have questions about that, and somebody says, oh, I wouldn't give my baby or my child that, nobody probably needs herbs that young unless they're constipated, and then we might give them a little chamomile or something like that that helps. But usually their toddlers are big enough, to take the liquid herbs, and by that age they're old enough to take. Do you give your children herbs at all?
Just chamomile teas and stuff, but that's mostly it. I don't know what's safe or not.
Yeah. What about elderberry?
Yes,
Like that?
yes,
Okay.
just the capsules.
Most moms that have children like that, they're interested in herbs.
Yeah.
They've heard around kind of what works and what doesn't. So good for you. Anybody else give their children herbs when they were little? Good. What's your favorite herb?
I used ginger a lot when I was pregnant and for my nausea. My son will take ginger for upset stomachs. And really just on a daily basis, I give him like a superfood blend, which has some herbs and some different vegetables and things like that.
Good.
And then for illnesses, we use garlic a lot. We use the golden seal, yarrow, echinacea, things like that.
Oh, great. I'm so tickled that the word about herbs is really getting around. It's really, people are tired of their children doing one antibiotic after the other, and that's destroying their poor little immune system. So they think, I'm going to do something different. I'm going to try something else. And so I'm glad to hear that's working. Anybody else have a comment on the children's herbs?
I haven't given it directly to him, but I breastfeed, and so I've been able to take like chamomile teas, maybe some skullcap in it too, to help with his sleeping whenever he's teething, because it's really painful, and so I drink it myself because it's just nice to relaxing for me too, and
Right.
then it
Gets it.
gets it through the milk.
Good. That's perfect. Yeah, I have, two sisters that had their children at home. One of them's married to a surgical nurse, and he said, "No way, Jose." She kept pregnant, she wanted to have her children. My mom had 7 of us at home. And so she wanted to have her children in her big bed that, that was just kind of like a dream of hers. And she just kept praying. And he said, "Well, let me go meet you called it a doula, but I don't think they had that. I think they just had a midwife." Anyway, so he went, he drilled her full of questions. And she said, "Well, do you know Dr. So-and-so?" When she found out where he worked. "Oh, yeah." She said, "Well, I delivered his children." "Well, do you know so-and-so doctor?" "Oh, yeah." Well, that made him feel better. So he said, "Birthing center only. We're not having it at home. Birthing center only." "Okay, Bobby." Okay, she just kept praying. The night she went into labor, it happened too fast. And the midwife come in there and she said, "Now, Robert, we can try to get her there in time to the birthing center, or we can have this baby here." He said, "Let's have it here. I don't want to take no chances." So Rhonda got her wish. She got to have those babies in her big bed. Okay. How can I find out more about natural remedies? The internet is awesome nowadays. Google, you can pretty much, but now when you go in there, bypass all the ads, because they're just trying to sell you something. Go down until you find somebody that is just there for trying to give you a little bit of an education, or their personal testimony is the best thing. And back when I got started, we didn't have the internet, we didn't have Google. And so I depended on people in the church or people at work or whatever that would, tell me what they took. And I would try it, and that's how, it was a tough thing, but that made me dig. It made me go to books and try to attend as many seminars and all of that, and I wouldn't trade that education for anything. Okay, are all herb companies the same? Unfortunately, they're not. With Nature Sunshine has their own science lab, and they dissect all raw materials to see if they're really what the person is selling. And they have rejected more than they've accepted because there's bug leg. Well, they said one time it looked like it was all ground up, so the smell, the taste, and all that looked like it was, I think it was golden silk, pure golden silk. But when they dissected it, it had bug legs, it had horse manure. Apparently they had used the barn to spread it out and dry it, and then they just swept it all up and ground it all up. And so, quality matters when you're putting it into your body. Okay, I also meant to tell you at the very beginning, your questions are welcome. And does anybody have any questions so far? Or you need to write something down? Yes, ma'am.
So what, kind of goes with what you find on the internet too, but like, I was just researching that what are good herbs or natural remedies to take while I'm breastfeeding. Because sometimes when I look at Google, they'll be like, "Oh, don't take it because you're breastfeeding. You gotta consult your physician." And I'm like, the physician's not gonna.
Yeah.
They're usually like, "No," but I'm like, but if I can say they did it,
Where do you buy your herbs?
I usually just Walmart. Just Walmart.
Okay, that's no help. I would recommend either taking my phone number and my text. I prefer text because I can research, and if I don't know the answer, then I can ask some of my other herbalist friends, and they'll help me. But if that doesn't work for you, I would go to the health food store, and you might pay 10 cents more, maybe 20 cents more per bottle, but you're getting their expertise with that. And that's a valuable thing. And they should be able to tell you, now if they're just there to just sell you something and not help you with, then I would find another health food store. Because you should be able to rely on them to help you with what you need. And that's a very valuable resource. Yes. Any more questions? Yes, ma'am.
There's a good herb store just right down the road. That's where I work.
Awesome. Awesome.
So, and it's, herbs and more.
Yeah, I've been in there.
Yeah, and Carol, the owner, and Diane and Valerie, they're wonderful with the products. And they
Good.
can tell you an awful lot of information.
Good. And don't they sell Nature Sunshine?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, Carol's a distributor.
Yeah. She's probably a consultant now. Nature Sunshine changed 2 years ago. They changed everything up. And I'm a senior consultant with them now, so I love the company. The product, the quality of the product is, I work at 4 different health food stores, and the Nature Sunshine beats them all. You know, all those hundreds of brands we sell. So anyway, but that's just my personal thing. But I knew, you know, we got to meet the people, we got to tour the plant, we got to see how they do their quality control, and I think they're one of the only herb companies that allow that. So, you know, that's the only way you know is just go check it out yourself, or somebody you trust has checked it out. So, any more questions? Yes, ma'am.
I'm getting into gardening, and I was wondering if you have any suggestions for good herbs to just grow in the garden.
That's a wonderful question, and I wish I knew the whole answer. I have not had a lot of good results. I'm a gardener. I have 4 garden boxes. Because it's hard, I'm getting old, it's hard for me to bend over, and I can't rover till like I used to. But anyway, I have had a little bit of success with like the mints, spearmint and peppermint, and some basil and oregano. Now my oregano took over the garden practically when it finally got going. Those are the only 4 I have really been able to. Well, chives, I did grow some chives and they turned out real good. But my tomatoes and peppers are to die for nearly. But I just don't have the herb thumb. Isn't that crazy? And my mother loved growing herbs when I was growing up. You know, my grandmother had the peppermints and the mints. And as children, we'd go and pick them and chew on them just right out of the garden. You know, we loved it. But I've not had, so I'm not the best person to ask that. Have you heard of the Dirt Doctor?
No.
On the radio? He's got a website and he does all organic gardening, and he is very smart when it comes to that.
Okay.
So you might check that resource.
I've had benefit with a few herbs that I've grown that I have my vegetables, so.
Well, I love homegrown tomatoes. There's just nothing to replace. Anybody agree with me?
There's also the Wise County Horticulture Club. They might be a good resource too. They have a lot of people that have been gardening for a long time. And they're also partnering with us on homesteading classes here too. Yeah. I'm trying to remember when theirs is, when their next one is. I'm wanting to say it's the 1st or the 3rd Thursday, and they're the
So it's
1st.
second, so it's this Thursday
Second.
and the second Thursday of the month, I think is what it said.
For the homesteading. For the horticulture club, I think it's a different schedule, but I'll look it up and look in.
All right.
They have a Facebook presence as well, the horticultural club. Question, is there anybody in this area, like, I'm not a big fan of like buying from a store, right? Because you can't trust what you're buying. So is there anybody that sells herbs locally?
Well, are you talking about Decatur?
Or Wise County?
Wise County. I'll tell you this. The reason I have kept up with Nature Sunshine, even though for 22 years we traveled and sang gospel music, so I wasn't home a lot. But the company Nature Sunshine is all online, or it is now. They used to teach all the seminars, and COVID shut that down. So they're a company that I trust because of the quality, and I think she verified that. And if you sign up with them, which I think become a premium customer, I would love to be your mentor for that. In other words, and y'all would have my expertise at your fingertips anyway. But I would be able to keep in touch with you better if you become, and I think it's $10 a year. So and you get all the discounts, you get free shipping and all of that. And with 40 years of my experience, I can guarantee you they're better quality than anything else. So if you want online,
So you don't know anybody locally that's selling herbs?
locally that you would go in the store other
Or
than.
like go to a person, I'm not interested in going to the store. unless you start growing some stuff. You know.
Okay, well, I do one-on-one consultations. But you have to make an appointment and you have to give me like your first or your top 4 or 5 problems and let me do my research. I'm not one to just say, oh, just take some herbs. I like to do my research. So I would love to have you come to my house and let's put you on a whole herb program. But I would need, time, maybe a week or 3 or 4 days anyway in advance. And I'd love to do that.
What is your thoughts on, I think it's, what's her name, she does lost herbs and she does more foraging?
Yes. Was she on the survival one?
She's like tall, thin.
Yeah, she was on Alone. I don't know if have you ever watched that?
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Oh, I loved her.
So what is your thoughts about finding things in your environment to use versus?
I don't have time nor the inclination, but a lot of people do it. And I'm all for it. I mean, that's a whole lot cheaper. And you're not putting any fillers with that. So growing it or foraging for it, awesome, go for it. Yes, ma'am.
Are these herbs organic?
Yes, certified organic. We were organic before organic was organic. I look back 40 years ago and they kept saying we have no fillers, we no GMO and all this, and I'm going, what is that? Well, that's the big thing. I even see no GMO on like flour or no, it's no gluten on chips or something, and I'm going, wasn't gluten to start with in there. Gluten is in flour. Yeah, and I'm going, okay. But anyway, that's because it's such a big thing, they put that on all their products, and they have to be certified in order to do that. So I'm careful about buying the organic fruits and vegetables too. Any more questions? Oh, you really didn't ask your question. I'm sorry.
That's okay. I was wondering if there were any books that you would recommend as maybe like staples to have.
Absolutely. My little herb book is real thin, and I wrote it and designed it mostly for a certified herb course for home study, if you want to become a certified herbalist. And so it's not done cover near enough. So my little herb book is okay, it's just $10, and it has some herbs in there, but the one that I really used a lot, and her books are thick, I think she's passed away now, so you may have to dig around on Amazon or Google or someplace to find them. But her last name is Tenney, Tenney, I think, Louise Tenney, and she wrote the Today's Herbal Health.
Today's Herbal Health?
Health. Yes, ma'am. Now, if you find any of the Jack Richardson's books, he was a chiropractor in California that was kind of a famous herbalist. His are good too, but hers were had the most information for practical stuff. And I really loved her books. In fact, the first certified herb course I developed was from her book. I used her book as a textbook. And so I did that for several years before I finally wrote down and did one. I always wanted to do is write my own book. Okay, anybody else have questions? I love this. How long have we been going?
I think about 40
Sorry.
minutes or so, but take your time, whatever questions you have.
Well, the next thing was the one-on-one consultation. If you want to do it via text, that's fine, but I prefer the personal visit because I like to look at you and see, if you're scrunching up your face over golden seal, we can change it to another herb, so we can, but I will tell you this, I don't think it's an herb formula. I skipped one. Number 8, is an herb formula better than a single herb? The answer is a lot of the times yes, because some herbalists will put you on like 4 different single herbs because there's 4 different actions there for the same problem. And Nature Sunshine does a formula. They'll put all 4 of those herbs in one formula so that you cover all bases with that. And I find that they do work. And sometimes I'll do that and add like a single herb on top of that. Like chickweed would be one I'd add separately because it's good in a formula, but it seems to work better with the formula on top of it. So anyway, yes ma'am.
Like, you could never, like, overdose on herbs.
You can give yourself diarrhea, and that's the body saying, cut back. Too much.
Yeah.
And then you can give yourself a headache with too much estrogen herbs, because if the body has too much estrogen, it tries to tell you this is not good, overdoing it. And so yes, yeah, there are a few things, but that doesn't mean you should stop taking the herb. You just need to go to somebody that is understanding what's happening and say, what should I do? And then say, we'll cut back on something or whatever. Like I take almost 14, 15 extra magnesium every day, because magnesium is a natural inflammation helper. It's a muscle relaxant, and it's just awesome. But magnesium will give you diarrhea if you go too far. So I used to hear Dr. Christopher, I think it was, say take it up to bowel tolerance and then back off one. In other words, if your bowel is not tolerating it any longer, back off a little bit. And that's how many you need for your body a day for that particular herb. Yes, ma'am.
Is it possible to be allergic to?
When you're dealing with today's environment, people that have lived in this environment, yes. Because they've breathed chemicals, they've taken chemicals, their bodies are so overloaded that if you start cleansing on that body and you do it too much and too fast, then they'll have like an allergic reaction.
And what symptoms would that?
They would their skin would maybe turn red, even break out. If you're trying to help a young person with their face, for instance, that have pimples, they'll break out worse. And if it's too bad, you have to back off. I'm not answering your question. The allergic, okay, a coughing, which cough is a natural expector, but you know, if you're doing it too much, then maybe you're cleansing too fast. What's another allergy? I don't have allergies, so what's another symptom?
I know someone who is experiencing,
Itchy eyes.
itching at, some, like, they say that their mouth feels like it's getting puffy. And like their lips or their tongue, like when they eat things like cantaloupe or avocado or things that would naturally be great for the body, it's like they feel like they can't have it.
Right. Well, I listen to your body because you can't tolerate it at that point.
So maybe getting the major functions moving first.
Absolutely.
Focus on that.
I didn't bring this out, and I meant to. Your gut is the most important thing really in your body, even more so than your brain. If your gut is toxic, then your brain is going to be toxic. You have to clean. Did y'all know we have DNA in the gut that is not like your blood? It's a totally new, different DNA. Isn't that awesome? And we just discovered that in the last 5 or 6 years. So your gut is so important. When I found out about the Gerson therapy to start detoxing cancer, I had to do 5 coffee retention enemas a day. And that washes out toxins faster than you're putting them in or breathing them in or rubbing them on. That hurries and gets rid of that. So that way you don't have the itchy eyes and the allergies and the headaches and all of that. Because when you start drinking, and I had to drink almost 100 ounces of juiced carrots. Anybody juice their vegetables? Oh, y'all. Bunch of
I
you.
blend mine now. I used to juice them, but now I blend them so I get the fiber.
Right. Well, I do my green smoothie that way. I do 24 ounces of the green smoothie, and I get my fibers and all of that. That's when I do my blueberries and all that. The carrots and the apple and I do 6 pounds of carrots, 5 lemons, and 4 apples every other day. I make that much, but I drink 32 ounces one day and 32 ounces. That's a lot of carrot, but when I first started, it was 100 ounces. I got 50 pounds of carrots at a time. I got so addicted. I I love that. I used to be addicted to Dr. Pepper's, now I'm addicted to canned juice. Isn't that awesome? And I never felt better in my whole life. That is life-giving. It is so much dense nutrition going in that you almost have to wash out, because all of a sudden it starts cleaning the house. It's going, oh, hallelujah, give me some mop and broom and let's sweep it clean. Well, if you do that, you're going to have the headache and caffeine withdrawals and all that. So if you do those coffee enemas, you are bypassing all that. So it's a wonderful process. I love it, love it. I feel better than 25 years probably. Any more questions? I've taught you everything y'all wanted to know. Okay, I would recommend you getting, there's books here, I'm sure they have on herbs that you can check out and read. And, but I would get one, I'd keep them at your house for quick references when they're closed. Because if you really want to get into herbs, just do it. Just jump in there and start reading and calling your friends and asking what did they do with the herbs, and texting me and asking me questions. I have one little lady, she waits till about 8:30, 9 o'clock at night to ask me a question. And sometimes I'm already, because I get up at 5:30 or 6 a lot of times, and I've already got my phone turned off. The next morning, I'll answer her about 5:30 or 6, saying, you don't go to bed early, but I do. But I will answer it. That's the beautiful thing about texting. It doesn't intrude on a person's time. They can answer you when they want to, when they need to. When Cowboys game's over, it's new.
Is it better to eat it, or is it better to juice it than the herb?
You need a good diet, a good eating diet. But juicing, you would never eat 6 pounds of carrots or 3 pounds of carrots a day. So it's not a substitute for your good diet. I still eat a salad a day. A lot of times I'll go ahead and eat a baked potato every day. On the cancer diet, you have to do that. And you're supposed to eat a vegetable soup every day. I still do a lot of that, but I still juice. And that's like dense nutrition you're just pouring into your body. My inflammation almost completely left, especially when I got off the gluten too. So I had so much inflammation in my shoulder. I think I was telling you, taking care of my mom with generic stuff, that I was down with pain. I had a TENS unit, and I'd stay on that about 2-3 hours a night trying to get rid of that pain. But when I went on that cancer diet, I changed my diet and changed my thinking and all of that, my inflammation left. Matter of fact, on my last panel, I had no inflammation in my body at all. That's almost unheard of. My doctor couldn't believe it. So that made me feel good. Now I do cheat now and then now. I love Chinese food. You know, I love it. Oh, it's so good. So I do cheat meals now.
Do you recommend heavy metal detoxes?
Absolutely. And we have a good one. Now I would start with cleaning your bowel first, because the heavy detox pulls it out of the cell level and dumps it into the gut. If you've already got a toxic gut, you'll probably break out and you'll have those headaches, whatever. Yes, absolutely. Especially if you have any fillings in your teeth that are.
Oh, I have that one. Yeah. What do you start off with, like herb-wise?
There's a formula. I can give you a single herb too, but the formula is called Clean Start. And it's a 2-week, I think it's 2 or 3 packages of herbs that you take. And that's a great way to start. It's kind of mild for people that have sensitive irritable bowel problems, but it's good enough to get the fiber in there and get you moving and, cleansing. I seen pictures one time of a lady that had 65 pounds. What was I saying? Oh, the Clean Start, yes. And then an herb to start with. Cascare's going to be too strong, probably. Something with some fiber in it. Maybe straight psyllium hulls, psyllium seeds or psyllium gonna do, I said there was 65 pounds in that lady's colon, and she was having a normal bowel movement every day. But it was just, she's eating gooey bread, and they were just stacking up and getting all the crevices, and you have to clean the gut, and you start with that, with those few, but then you eventually fasting will help. No, breastfeed you can.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I wouldn't even do a lot of cleansing right now.
Yeah.
Right, I would wait until
You stop breastfeeding. Yeah.
we want him to have a good, happy tummy to go to bed. Sleep so you can sleep. Okay, anybody else?